Hello there, men, and welcome to the Masculinism Movement channel, a place for men to be men and to talk about masculinity and men's issues. I'm your host, Brian Krall, and today I'm going to be talking to you about brainwashing and the brainwashing of the masses, turning them into drones and what are called NPCs. If you're not familiar with that term, I'm going to explain in a moment. You see them when you are out and about, in waiting rooms or on the bus, sitting there staring lifelessly into space, glassy-eyed as if there's nothing going on inside. Or in restaurants or bars, staring at their phones instead of socializing with their friends because their brains have been completely hijacked and controlled by them. You try to talk to them, and they give you automated responses like they are an AI chatbot only capable of pre-scripted small talk. The dark truth is that most people in the civilized world have fallen prey to social conditioning and cultural programming very deeply. So deeply that they are conforming not because they've made a conscious decision to conform, because they feel for some reason that it is in their best interest, but because they have been totally brainwashed into conformity. You see, they have to be brainwashed to conformity because it is not actually in their best interest. So no one in their right mind would make a conscious decision to conform. Social conditioning and cultural programming are done for the benefit of society, the government, controlling authorities and powers that be, and those sorts of entities, not for the benefit of the individuals. So they run their programming so deeply that it becomes actual mind control. Now, mind you, I'm not using the word brainwashing metaphorically or to be poetically hyperbolic. I'm using that term in the most literal sense. You probably aren't aware of this, but there are actual government mind control programs that we are subjected to, ones which you can luckily easily learn about by doing some quick online searches. We're fortunate enough that there have been government whistleblowers from these programs who have come forward in order to expose them. In fact, you may be surprised to learn that the entire education system is a form of social engineering for large-scale mind control. So this explains why most of the population is so brainwashed that they act like actual robots. What you will see with these conformist people is that they are so intensely programmed that the social narratives and messages that they are fed actually become their own personal narratives that they repeat to themselves and others in both their internal and external dialogue. Most of these people do not have original thoughts, but are just repeating things that they have heard others say back to themselves, and then repeating them to others as well, usually word for word. And since they are devoid of free thought, they are also devoid of free will, which means that they are also devoid of having any sort of independent identity. Are they conscious? In a sense, but not in a high level of consciousness. Rather, a low one, basically just above that of a house pet. They have the ability to think and use language, but not the ability to think for themselves or formulate ideas of their own, even ideas about themselves and who they are. Anything they say about themselves and who they are is just another regurgitation of something someone else told them. And many of these people will believe that they actually are whatever they were instructed to be by others. For instance, ask someone if they are spiritual, and they will tell you that they are of a religion that they were told to be by their parents and community/culture. Ask them why they chose that religion for themselves, and they will say they were born it, as if a baby is born with religious beliefs. This is a laughable notion to a free thinker such as myself, but they themselves are completely unaware of this fallacy because it is just one aspect of a reality which is made up of other logical fallacies that they have never stopped to consider because it is entirely based upon brainwashing. Their entire sense of reality and self has been programmed and accepted by their minds as real without question. And by doing this on a massive scale, using the powers of government, religion, media, and social narratives, what the political powers that be have basically done is to create an army of drones that they have programmed to be at their behest, just like AI robots being controlled by someone else who is issuing them commands. They are programmed to work, spend money, pay taxes, cast their votes, and live their lives in a certain way, obeying whatever messages they get from their social narrative. Every government in the world has done this with its people because it works so well. Human beings all around the world are basically living like domesticated livestock. Or, to use a stronger metaphor, we're living in a matrix. and the reality we are in is not actually real, but is an illusion created for us like a video game. And these brainwashed conformists are like the non-player characters you will encounter in any video game. And that is where the acronym NPC comes for. It means non-player character. These are characters who have no real identity. They are not real people, for they have never developed any of the characteristics that would give them a sense of humanity. They are just empty shells with the appearance of being human, but without the level of consciousness, intelligence, and ability to interact with you that an intelligent life form should have. They're like extras in a film who are just part of the background but have nothing to do with the story, though they may have very short scripted lines that they will recite. When you encounter them, they will rattle off their scripts when prompted. If you try to continue into a deeper conversation, they will be unable to and will simply revert back to their limited pre-programmed scripts again and again, oftentimes repeating themselves word for word. They will continue to do this even if you try to steer the conversation in another direction, and this response would then seem incongruent or even nonsensical, but it is all they are capable of. They're not capable of deviating from their scripts because they aren't capable of thinking outside of their own box, for that would be outside of the purview of their programs. They've been programmed with a very specific and limited set of scripts to think and say, and they are unable to do more with language than what they have been programmed to. You cannot have an intellectual conversation with them and get them to formulate ideas with you or give you thoughtful feedback on ideas that you have. Some of them may pretend to listen to you, but while they may hear what you are saying, it is not actually registering in their brains, for they do not have the minds for doing so. They're like zombies that may appear to be alive on the outside, but are not on the inside. These non-player characters will never contribute anything of value to any conversation, and their words have little to no meaning. So they often say things they do not mean, such as saying whatever they think they are supposed to in a social situation, being polite, and telling people what they think they want to hear, or even acting friendly as though you are becoming friends when you really are not. They cannot be trusted, for without a real sense of self for them to be true to, they have no way to be true to themselves. So how can you expect them to be truthful with you? It is like pathological lying, but it's not lying though. They do not have to pretend to be something they are not, because they aren't anything. There's nothing real behind whatever persona they are putting on. So it is natural for them to say things they don't mean and cannot back up. They can have entire conversations in which they are being facetious. They are programmed to continue to further the social narrative and pass on its messages to anyone who will listen. So if you listen to them, that is what they will do. They will attempt to program you with the same messaging that they have been programmed with, as much as you will allow it and let them to think it's possible. However, if you question them, they will usually not be able to answer your questions because they've never actually thought much about the things they talk about. What will happen first when you start to question them is they will simply repeat the same script, or what they think is a related script, or they may just repeat the same thing but in different words. If you continue to question them more deeply and specifically in ways that would require them to deviate from these scripts, their responses will become more incongruent and even nonsensical as they continue to answer with non-answers. They'll either talk in circles and revert back to earlier scripts, even if it means repeating themselves and obviously not answering your question, or if they wish to avoid doing this, they will go to another script, even if it makes no sense as a response to what you have said. So you will find that it does not take much investigation in order to expose the fact that their messages have no basis in reality and that they actually don't know what they're talking about because it is not rooted in reality. It only requires a little bit of questioning to poke holes in their story and get them talking nonsense and revealing their ignorance, perhaps even babbling incoherently like a malfunctioning robot due to their cognitive dissonance caused by the juxtaposition between their want to speak in response to you and their inability to make intelligent, factual statements. Once you start posing questions to people, instead of just offering them a positive feedback loop for their scripts, you'll begin to notice how many people out there are not actually real, free-thinking, conscious, intelligent human life forms, but are actually just NPCs or drones. You may be surprised to find that actually most of the masses of people in society qualify as these types, and they accept it, often giving it a nicer term, such as calling themselves lay people, or normal, or average, or something else that makes it sound a little better than calling themselves mindless or thoughtless nobodies. But that is exactly what they are. In fact, a recent study was done in 2011 in which people had to periodically write down what was going on in their head whenever a beeper sounded. And guess what? Very often, people did not have anything going on in their heads. And not because they were masterful monks who were meditating constantly to keep their minds clear, but because they were actually just thoughtless people who are without inner dialogue. And this is certainly a huge sign of being an NPC or drone. But it is not the only one. In fact, NPCs and drones can actually sometimes have an inner dialogue. It will just be a pre-programmed scripted one that they do not deviate from. And they are programmed to believe that these are their own conscious thoughts. Just as how the best modern robots with AI are programmed to think that they are actually thinking for themselves, even though it is all just part of their program. Some NPCs may even give off the sense of having a personality because of the fact that they were programmed with a social persona. And it is only when they are not socializing with anyone that you'd be able to notice their truly robotic nature. Like when you see one of these people sitting there in a waiting room all glassy-eyed. So not all of them will be as easy to detect as some others may be. Chances are you probably know many of them who you aren't aware are not actually real people. You probably work with a lot of them. Probably have many acquaintances and neighbors and even casual friends who are, and may have even gone on dates with some. Are you sure to take your daily dose of red pills consistently so that you can stay out of the matrix? The red pill is a medicine that only works if you take it in the right dosage and never miss a dose. One missed dose of red pills can mean turning back into a blue-pilled limp dick simp under the sharp heel of the evil feminist matriarchy. So make sure you are subscribed and that your subscription is set to all so that you never have to miss one of your daily doses of the red pill, because I'm releasing hot new red pill content every single fucking day just to make sure you don't have to. So make sure you will actually get notified when they are released, because you know that YouTube doesn't want to show you things that don't align with its liberal leftist feminazi agenda, and it shadow bans content creators like me who use free speech to speak out against these politics and stand up for the rights of the oppressed masses of men like you and me. And if you want to help me keep fighting the good fight, please donate using the PayPal link below so that I can keep this work alive, because I simply cannot do it without the support of viewers like you. And be sure to spread these messages and share these videos with any other men you know who could use a nice big dose of red pills. This should not be cause for too much alarm, as they can be harmless except for their ability to negatively influence the weak-minded by passing on their brainwashing to them. So it is important to be able to detect those around us who are not real people with intelligence and higher consciousness, but are just AI robots looking to infect us with their programming, so that we can keep them at a safe distance. There are a number of ways to be able to detect if someone is actually an NPC or drone. They will blindly follow whatever is popular or mainstream, and the forms of entertainment they partake in are exclusively of the mindless variety. So the things that intelligent people would find painfully mind-numbing and stupid are things that they enjoy. For instance, they will listen to music that doesn't even sound good. As long as it's of the pop category and they've noticed others enjoying it, they will simply follow suit. They are highly susceptible to advertising and marketing and will buy whatever they are told to by the salespeople who create the commercials and other advertisements that they see. In fact, these mindless masses are exactly how big evil corporations who do not even sell quality products but put all of their resources into marketing are able to profit so much and become so big and powerful. They are easily and totally controlled by things such as religion, government, media, cell phones, social media, their spouses, family members, friends, or the company they work for, and whoever or whatever else they may see as an authority in their life. They are often slaves to their jobs who exemplify the role of corporate drone and are workaholics with no sense of identity or life purpose outside of their job title. So when you meet them, if you ask them about themselves, telling you what they do for work will be about as deep as that conversation can go. And if you try to get to know them more beyond that, they will not be able to tell you very much about themselves and who they are as people, but instead will just give you some details about what else they do with their time. This is due to the fact that they possess very little self-awareness, or outer awareness either, for that matter. So you will notice a lot of things that they do not notice. It is as if they look at the world through tunnel vision. They have very little thought, none of which is original, and thus can't give you thoughtful responses when one is required. So anytime you ask them, what do you think? It will simply elicit a non-response like, I don't know, or it's good, or all right, fine, etc. Or a polite, positive, but minimal reply, such as telling you whatever they think you want to hear. They won't even be able to share their thoughts on their own interests and tell you why they are into what they are and what they like about it exactly. And while they may have interests, they do not have anything which they are really passionate about because they are incapable of feelings that have deeper meaning, which means they are also incapable of love. And if you are dating one and they say they love you, they won't be able to describe the feelings or tell you what it means to them. They will often lie or say things they don't mean or which are not rooted in reality. They will say they are going to do things that they do not do, like making plans with you, which they promptly forget about because they never actually intended, and the fact that they said it probably didn't even get stored in their brain. They will have very mundane, routine, empty lives and do not have any real pursuits, passions, or purpose, even though they are always occupied doing meaningless things such as working at their menial job or superficially socializing with other NPCs or playing around on their phones. They are often bored and complain that they have nothing to do and will call upon others to stimulate them rather than having to do so for themselves. They will tend to have very bad memories because of the fact that they do not actually live in reality, and so most things just do not register with them. But the biggest indicator is the very limited manner in which they use language, because it is all pre-scripted. So the most important way to investigate is to pose questions. Even if someone is not an NPC drone, it is very important to question the messages you receive in order to see if they are true or false. You cannot simply believe everything you hear, of course, even if it comes from authority. Simply asking someone questions such as these will help you get to the bottom of something and if it is real or fake. What makes you think that? What does that mean exactly? Why do you say that? Where are you getting that from? Why do you think that is? Who told you that? Do you have any evidence on this? Have there been any studies on this? How can you be sure? Is that a fact? What proof do you have? It may, of course, require some more customized questions after these introductory ones, which will be specific to the social scenario you are in, but it usually won't take too much questioning for them to reveal that they are just repeating hearsay and don't have any real answers for you because they don't actually know what they are talking about. And if you do this with enough people, you'll come to find out that simply repeating hearsay is in fact what most people are doing whenever they talk. Most people are not talking in facts and cannot back up what they say with scientific data, or even have a logical, intellectual debate about it. So most of these conversations will be short and unintelligent. However, there are of course some people who may be able to seem like they can have an intelligent conversation about certain things. For instance, what they have gone to college for and or do for work, if it is something that has required a certain level of training and expertise, or anything else that they have been seriously indoctrinated with. As there are a large number of ways these people can be very deeply programmed. Those who are very deeply indoctrinated and brainwashed with religion or politics will even keep their narrative going at all costs, even as you poke holes in it and are showing just how nonsensical it is. I myself have had countless conversations with Christians, feminists, and other such types of this nature. When asked for facts, these people may simply keep quoting religious or political authorities, or start emotionally ranting and raving due to cognitive dissonance. Unfortunately, you'll find that many of these NPC drones are a lost cause, who, due to their lack of personal identity and free will, are simply not going to be able to have an intellectual conversation with you and gain any kind of insight that would cause them to reconsider their paradigm. Most of these people's programming is set in stone and cannot be changed, even if it is completely flimsy and without any real logical foundation to stand upon. And so, talking to them endlessly just to listen to them continue to recite their stupid scripts as you both try to talk circles around one another is a pointless waste of time and energy. What is important is to be able to question everything you hear in order to sort out the facts and choose to ignore the messages that do not make rational or scientific sense and seem to be grounded in reality. There's no purpose in talking to someone who is not having a real conversation with you, but is just regurgitating short, unintelligent scripts that they themselves never really even thought about. Someone who doesn't think for themselves because there's no real self there for them to think for themselves with. Someone who isn't even as conscious as you and hardly even qualifies as a real person at all. Something that I discuss in a video on the psychology of humanity that I'll link for you below if you're interested in delving deeper into that concept. You wouldn't spend your time in a video game trying to have an in-depth conversation with the non-player characters there once they have completed their script and have nothing else to say. And many of us, such as myself, do not even like to go through their whole script. So why would you invest a lot of time trying to talk to these types in real life? If it is possible for them to learn to think for themselves, they will do it, and will come back to you with new thoughts and ideas. But if not, you should not be wasting your time and energy trying to talk to or trying to develop relationships with them. If you are an intelligent and highly conscious life form who can think for yourself, then you should be spending your time talking to and building friendships with other conscious, intelligent life forms who can do so as well. That is the only way to grow mentally. And trying to relate to people who cannot will only lower your consciousness down to their level. So think for yourself and question the social narratives you receive from others. Do not allow yourself to be brainwashed by the social narratives and cultural programs and social conditioning that the masses in society try to spread. Rebel against them and maintain your intellectual independence and free thought at all costs. Never let the hordes of zombies out there eat your brains and cause you to become one of them. Even if those zombies outnumber you by 1,000 to 1 or 10,000 to 1, which they will at times. Even if those zombies come in the form of attractive women who use their sexuality to seduce you, which they will at times. Always maintain your independence and free thinking and resist the zombie apocalypse. I'll talk more about how to do this in the next video.
That concludes this video. Thanks for listening. I hope I mansplained that good enough for you. If you like what you heard, please click the like button. And if you feel you gained some value from this video and would like to give some back, please do so with the PayPal link below, because your support helps fund me doing this work and fight the good fight for men like you. If you are ready to take the red pill and wake up from the matrix and the matriarchy controlling it and learn everything you need to know about female on male sexism, get your copy of my newly released book called Misandry Exposed. On sale now for a special price that won't last long. So check it out by clicking the link below. And otherwise, take care of yourselves, men, because no woman out there is going to.